folks, today we're going to talk about how you as a small business owner can maximize your sales price when you sell. And a lot of business owners have absolutely no idea about how to do that. So we're going to dive right in here. First of all, number one, you have to have a minimum of 2 years tax returns. Number two, you have to be prepared to be replaced. Number three, you have to maximize your revenue. Number four, you have to have a plan in place as to what you're going to be doing. You want to go ahead and have everything be on a schedule and just be working towards that. So you're working on a schedule so that you can go ahead and be prepared. And number five, you need to go ahead and clean up so that everything about the business is sparkling. And number six, set the price. Let's go through this. Number one, you want to have 2 years tax returns. Why in the world do you need tax returns? There's a very good reason for that. Most business owners or most business buyers don't care what you tell them unless you can back this up with tax returns. Why? Because you are under obligation to the federal government to prepare tax returns to show exactly how much money you made. Now, do business owners cheat? Absolutely. Business owners do that all the time. I have known business owners that have said, I've got 4 sets of books. I've got the set of books that has the actual numbers. I have the set of books that I show to my partner. I have the set of books that I show to my wife. And I have the set of books that I show to the IRS. Would you trust anything that person says? Remember, the IRS has the right to go ahead and throw you in jail if you lie on your tax returns. If someone is going to go ahead and lie on their tax returns, why in the world would they go ahead and tell you the truth? Especially if it would cost them money. So you have to have audited tax returns. Now, if you're trying to do this quickly, what you can do is you can go ahead and have audited tax returns for 1 year and then year to date for the upcoming year. But 2 years is really pretty much the minimum that you have to have. Number two, you want to go ahead and be replaceable. Gosh, I'm irreplaceable. I'm unique. If you're irreplaceable, you can't sell your business. If you have a one-man shop, what happens when you leave? It's dead. So you want to not be a worker bee. You want to go ahead and be an executive. Because what does an executive do? An executive can bring in another executive to go ahead and manage the store. The executive doesn't have to know everything about that business. They just have to know enough to go ahead and tell the boss to go ahead and do this, do that, do that. You want to train someone else to take over your spot. Now, what happens if you don't? I have known business owners, contractors, little one-man shops, that they said, I'm just going to go ahead and close my doors and walk away. And they have a great book of business. They've got 20, 30 years where people have relied upon them. But they didn't think ahead. And so when it came time for them to think about retirement, when it came time for them to think about selling their business, what they have? They had nothing because they hadn't trained someone in how to go ahead and take over. Well, there's a very easy solution. Hire someone. If your business isn't making enough money to hire someone, when you hire someone, you might have to take a small hit financially, but hopefully you can go ahead and get in more business to go ahead and be worthwhile so you can have one person doing the work and you're managing. If you don't have that, you really have a business. Most business buyers don't want to buy a job. They want to manage a business, which means that if you don't have people in place to do the work, you don't have anything to sell. So you want to go ahead and be replaceable. And what you want to do is right now, as soon as possible, start a training program so the person that you bring in can become an executive. Because once they become an executive, here's the question, do you need to sell? Because if you can go ahead and be growing your business and get somebody to take care of the grunt work, where you're concentrating on bringing new business, you're bringing in new accounts, and you're going ahead and really making the revenue soar, what's going to happen? The value of the business is going to go up, but if you don't sell, what's going to happen? You have somebody else that is doing all the executive work. You can go ahead and you can come in once a week. You can come in twice a week. You can go ahead and manage this remotely. You don't have to sell it to someone else to receive benefits from this. So it doesn't hurt you to go ahead and train somebody. Number 3, you want to maximize revenue. What do I mean by maximize revenue? Have you ever known a business that they say, I can't cut my prices, I'm going to lose money? You have to know what your costs are. I've done other videos on this. You have to know what your costs are so that you can know how much of a giveaway that you can do on coupons. For instance, let's say you're going to do a free drink when someone buys an entree. That's great because usually drinks are the highest profit margin item there. Or maybe you're doing a 2-for-1 or a 3-for-1 or a 4-for-1. Whatever you're doing, you want to go ahead and show people, give them an incentive to come to your store. You want to have seminars, you want to have promotions, you want to have sales, you want to go ahead and have wacky hours, you want to have customer appreciation days. Bring people into your shop, give them a reason to come by your shop so that you can go ahead and maximize revenue. Now, if you ever buy Jay Abrams' book, Getting Everything You Can Out of All You've Got, he's going to talk about don't just go after new customers, go after your old customers. If you can go ahead and you have a customer that comes in once a week and they spend $20 a week, what is the value of that customer? Well, if they spend $20 a week over 50 weeks, that is $50 times, that is $1,000. If they do that over 10 years, that is $10,000 in value that they brought. Now, what does that mean to you? You want to have as many of those people as you can, but what would happen if you went ahead and you trained him or her in how to spend, instead of $20 a week, now you're spending $100 a week. $100 a week times 50 weeks, that's $5,000 a year times 10 years, that's $50,000. Now all of a sudden, you start to make some real money. So you want to go ahead and increase the amount per purchase and increase the frequency and reduce the attrition, the amount of time that people leave, and increase your retention so you hold them longer. So when you can start doing those things just by involving them more, by making them part of what you're doing, then it starts to become a really good aspect. How can you do that? I remember one time, Gino's Pizza down in Orlando, they had this little card that every time you bought a pizza, they did a little punch out on that card. When you got 10 of those, guess what? They gave you a free slice of pizza. Well, guess what happened? You wanted to go ahead and go there as often as you could. What is your cost to bring in a brand new customer? Well, it's pretty high. What's your cost for increasing your existing customers' purchases? You already have their trust because they're already buying from you. If you can go ahead and increase the reliance upon you and have your shop become a regular place. So instead of coming there once a month, now they come there once a week or once a day. Suddenly, now their habitual customer, and you have a lifetime value of that customer that just goes through the roof. The next thing you want to do is you want to realize that you're on a schedule. If you're saying, I want to go ahead and sell my business, what is your schedule? Do you want to sell this in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years? Start taking the steps necessary to do all those things to increase your revenue so that when you want to sell, you can maximize the amount. Now, what would happen if you knew you were on a schedule and you trained someone to take over for you, and then instead of selling the business, you went ahead and stayed home? Would you still own the business? Yeah. Would you be able to monitor the business and know what's going on? Yeah. So if you're on a schedule, you don't have to sell the business, but you can go ahead and you can retire and still have revenue coming in. What happens if you're a lawyer and you close up shop? If you're a one-man shop, boom, you close the doors, you're done. However, what would happen if you brought in a new attorney as an associate, train them, and then have them become a partner? Have you ever heard of an attorney's firm that has partners that don't come into the office every day? Absolutely. Why do they do that? Because they train someone to come over for them and stand in their place to do the grunt work. Maybe they're a managing partner and they're there once a month or once a week or once a day, but they don't have to do all the work. So always be thinking of that business model. How can I train someone? How can I go ahead and have a schedule so I know exactly where I want to go, and give myself a couple of different options. Option A, I go ahead and sell. Option B, I go ahead and I expand the business to the point I bring in a manager. They're doing all the work. I come in and I monitor things, but I'm not in the office every day. I'm not spending 80 hours in the office. Maybe I come in once a month and spend 2 or 3 hours. Maybe I go ahead and watch all the sales, and I have some overhead cameras that keep track of every receipt and every sale, so I make sure that people aren't stealing from me. When you have a schedule, then you can go ahead and structure this according to how you want it. Number 5, clean things up. You want to, as a business owner, a lot of times what will happen is we become so involved that we forget to go ahead and sweep the sidewalk. We forget to wash the windows. We forget to check the bathrooms every hour. Guess what happens? People care about those things. If you had a choice between going to a business that looked a little bit run down, a little bit seedy, and you weren't quite sure if they were clean or not, or you had one that was brightly lit, clean, all the trash was picked up, the bathroom sparkled, which one would you go to? I'm going to go to the one that's clean. And number 6, you need to set the price. Now the price, there's a ton of different ways to set the price. But the one I want you to concentrate on, and I have other videos that go into this in more detail, is EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. Now why is that important? If you're bringing in a manager, now you have a business to sell. So you want to go ahead and show your earnings before interest, before depreciation, before taxes, and before amortization, so that you can go ahead and show this is how much money that the business can support. Because all those will determine how much the business is worth. My parents had an RV park. They owned it with my mom's 3 sisters and my uncle. When we went ahead and sold this, what my dad did was he looked at what is the gross revenue, what is our gross profit, and what will this business support. And then, rather than going to a business broker, and a business broker is going to charge between 10 and 15%, what you might want to do is ask yourself, who do I know that would possibly be interested in this? Would this be other competitors? Would this be someone that might be in the business? Would this be someone that that has always dreamed of owning this type of business? And you want to go ahead and structure it so that someone can step in. They don't have to know everything. They just had to be a good manager. So you want to have your people trained and ready to go, and all they have to do is just run the business in a honest way and run it well according to the systems that you have set up and make a profit. Now, there's 2 ways to look at this. You have a cash price. What will you sell it for cash? Here's a check, walk away. And what will you sell it for a price that you're going to have to take back financing? Because a lot of businesses, bars, restaurants, any type of small retail business, you can't go to a bank and get a loan on. Instead, you're going to have to come up with a down payment, and then you're going to have to take back a small or large second in order to go ahead and sell this. When you take back financing, obviously you're going to sell this for a multiple of what you would for a cash price. but you want to go ahead and maximize the value that you can possibly get from this. So again, number one, you want to go ahead and make sure you have your tax returns. Number two, you want to go ahead and make sure that you are maximizing revenue. Number three, you want to be replaceable. Train someone to take over. Number four, you're on a schedule. Number five, make sure the place is clean. Make sure the bathrooms are clean. And number six, establish a price.